What's good, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to another SK Wealth Academy podcast where I am going to speak about how everything in life can be broken down into a parasitic host relationship. Now, those of you that have been following my podcast know that I've been speaking of this parasitic host relationship that has been revealing itself in our lives recently, and in regard most recently to the parasitic host relationship that exists on social media, in particular on YouTube, with YouTube and Google being the parasite that feeds off its hosts, the YouTube content creators. And the fact of the matter is that if all the content creators migrated off of the parasitic platform, YouTube, the parasites would die. So we live in an age where technological advancement has been unparalleled. So that is indisputable that we have made great leaps and bounds in technological advancements during our lifetimes. But unfortunately, that is counterbalanced by the increase of entropy in our lives, which is a facet that the parasites have seized upon and co-opted to their great advantage. So entropy is the natural tendency of things to lose order because life will always become less structured. And unfortunately, the things that have been sound in life tend to break apart and become less sound, which allows the parasites in to infect every aspect of our lives. So let me go on to continue to tell you other aspects of our lives which are crucial to how we live our lives that have been affected by the billionaire transhumanist parasites. So money, for example, used to be pure gold and silver only. And that left it virtually impossible for bankers to inflate money away, which is really a silent tax on all our earnings. So in addition to, say, nearly half your money that comes out in taxes, say if you are a resident of California in America, or if you live in some European countries, it's even more than half, 50% of your income that comes out in taxes. You also have to add in the erosion of that silent tax of banker inflation that did not exist when money was sound. So eventually the parasites have broken down money into worthless pieces of cloth, plastic, and digital bytes stored on bank servers with some kind of redundancy backup software to ensure the integrity of that digital data with zero intrinsic value. However, as parasites do, they weaken sound money that could not be compromised with zero third-party risk, meaning physical gold and physical silver, into an inferior form of money with massive third-party risk that literally could be conjured out of thin air to massively distort the prices of every single capital asset in every financial market in the world. And by the way, for anyone that tells you there's not enough physical gold in the world to support the global economies, they understand nothing about money. There is more than plenty to do so. This is a lie that banker parasites want you to believe, and I fully explain why this lie is a lie in my SK Wealth Academy courses about money. But were I to explain it within the confines of this podcast, we'd have to go a couple of hours. Religion as well. The purity of religion. It used to be about central tenets of love, have compassion for your fellow human being, the golden rule, treat others as you yourself would want to be treated. Eventually it was broken down by parasites to require middlemen between God and men, to require confessionals. It required men to divulge their darkest secrets to middlemen called priests that could use these secrets to then control the men within their congregation and the men and women, and eventually devolved to the lowest level of parasites, the televangelist, that constantly begs for your money to help the poor, but then take the money you send them, which they assure you will buy your way into heaven, and parlay those tens of millions of dollars that are sent to them into massive mansions and multiple homes and private jets. So in every religion now, there are practicing and non-practicing participants, just because Just because someone goes weekly or daily to the mosque, to the temple, to the church, that does not mean that they are practicing the tenets of that religion. So, there are fake Jews and then the real Jews. Then there are fake Christians and the real Christians. And there are fake Muslims and the real Muslims. And they're, basically everyone that expresses hatred are the fake ones. Because as I said, religion used to be about the central tenet of love. Now, and then it was eventually weakened by the parasites that came in and infected religion in order to control people. Now, education used to be about life lessons, self-reliance, growing one's own crops, hunting for one's own food, knowing how to make fires, building one's own shelter, knowing how to identify the direction of one's journey by looking at the stars in the sky, or by planting sticks into the ground and reading the shadows to identify north, south, west, east, and west without a compass. And also learning to find your purpose in life, until the industrialist parasites took over and they infected institutional academia. They incorporated the Prussian model of blind obedience to the state and authority, spread this system throughout the Americas and then to the rest of the world. So regarding the parasitic nature of academia today, that has driven it in the opposite direction, away from education. I was recently talking to my father about any regrets he may have now that he's in his golden years, because I wanted to learn from any regrets that he may have. And he said he had plenty, but he'd really have to think about it before he wanted to tell me fully. So he still has not told me fully. But then he asked me, did I have any regrets? And mine was about my pursuit of education, because I gave in to the parasites and I went through what everyone you're supposed to go through. You're supposed to get into the best university you can, and then you're supposed to go on and get your graduate degree. So I told my father I regretted getting my 2 master degrees. And not only did I regret getting those 2 master degrees, I also regretted getting my university degree, because as an entrepreneur, all of these degrees were really ultimately of low utility to my life. I'm not saying to everyone's life, but to my life for my entrepreneurial pursuits, because I actually learned far more about how to build a business just by doing than by sitting in a classroom learning all this useless theory. And actually, I told my father that the net effect of my graduate degrees, I view them as less than zero, because I told him that in receiving my graduate business degrees, I learned a bunch of rubbish in theory that's not even applicable in the real world. So I said I had to unlearn that rubbish that was up here, thinking, I paid all this money, I wasted all this, spent all this time and all these resources learning this, so it must be true. And it took me a while to unwind all that rubbish and then actually go ahead, which set me back even further, right? Because if I was here, then I look at my pursuit of education in the wrong manner, setting me back here, and then having to unwind all the rubbish, set me back to here. And then I had to make up all that time and energy just to get back to the starting line. So I told him I would have never gone to university. I said at high school I would have finished and then just gone on to my entrepreneurial pursuits. So in the end, our heroes, we even, as far as our career, the parasites have infected that, because it's not about purpose. Our careers have not become it's about making the most money you can so we can become the biggest consumer in this consumer society to gain as much material wealth as possible. And we believe, and that also goes along with success, we believe that, that would, that's going to translate into happiness, because all the time I hear people all the time still to this day, they say, I saw a billionaire, I saw this guy, Bill Gates or Warren Buffett or Jeff Bezos or Jamie Dimon, and I wanted to go up to him and I told him I couldn't believe he was right there before me, and I told him, hey, I really admire you, because look at all these billions of dollars you built through all your hard work. And they don't even realize that these people have built their billions on the broken backs of people they exploit. They are not admirable people. Our heroes, we look at our heroes heroes is just those that have tremendous material success without even looking at how they gained that material success. Because these types of parasites are not the people that should be our heroes. Our heroes should be people like Justin Wren, should be people like Alex Honnold, and these are probably people that you may have never heard of. So go look them up, because what they're doing, they're bringing clean water to the 785 million people in this world that do not have any access to clean water, to the tens of millions of people that have to spend hours every day just walking tens and tens of kilometers to find clean water. They're bringing solar electricity to remote villages around the world that have never had electricity during their entire lives, and therefore are truly improving people's quality of life by giving much of the little that they earn to improve people's life, instead of like these billionaire transhumanists that are destroying people's quality of life to become selfishly richer just for themselves, and accumulating much more wealth than anyone needs to possess. And so, as I've just proven to you, parasites unfortunately have infected every aspect of modern life today. So the only way to ensure that we are not allowing parasites to feed off us is to observe our neighbors, to observe all our coworkers. If our lives resemble theirs in nearly every aspect of their life, and in the most significant aspects of life, unfortunately, we are not winning this battle in the parasitic host relationship. We are losing to the parasites, because unless someone could come into our workplace and into our local community and say, hey, what do you think about so-and-so? And unless those people would say, you know what? That person is one of a kind because he or she is unlike anyone else I know, then you are winning the battle in the parasite-host relationship. You're not allowing the parasites to feed off you. You are controlling your own life, living by your own rules. But if you look around, you're living your life exactly like everyone else you see around you. Guess what? You are losing the battle in the parasite-host relationship. And until you expel the parasites from every aspect of your life, you will never reach the potential or find your purpose. Because everyone in life has a purpose to reach greatness. And if you are not on that pathway, on that journey, then you need to really reconsider how you're living your life and really do whatever is necessary to expel the parasites from having so much power over your life. So please share your thoughts and comments below so every person that is viewing this podcast can benefit from your insight and experience if you have found unique ways to win this battle. Because as I said, parasites affect every aspect of our life. So we need to be conscious, we need to be mindful of that. And as always, remain intensely curious. So long.